வணக்கம் 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 வணக்கம். புத்தம் புது பாட்டு வந்தா தாண்டவ கோனே, ரத்தமெல்லாம் தீ பிடிக்கும் தாண்டவ கோனே. தப்படுத்து அடிக்கையிலே தாண்டவ கோனே, என் நெத்தியிலே இடி இடிக்கும் தாண்டவ கோனே. பாட்டு என்னும் சன்னல் வழி தாண்டவ கோனே, என் பழைய காலம் தெரியுதடா தாண்டவ கோனே. பாட்டு என்னும் சன்னல் வழி தாண்டவ கோனே, என் பழைய காலம் தெரியுதடா தாண்டவ கோனே.
The road to greatness is alight with the wailing of broken soldiers and the whispered weeping of their women. Yet the men who are the cause of this suffering must pay them no heed. The Chola dynasty is like the elephant of the forest, a beast that can thrive only by wrecking the weeds beneath it as it marches through the undergrowth. Like the elephant, we must seize whatever opportunity we find to grow stronger, even when it means crushing those who stand in our way. My father never tires of telling me this story, but I doubt that I will pass it on to my son when the time comes to teach him the ways of emperors. Our family has ruled parts of Tamil country for over 1,000 years. Other dynasties rose and fell in the time that it took our ancestors to blink, yet greatness continued to elude us. That all changed when my father came to power. As a newly crowned ruler, he took the name Raja, the King of Kings, a name that turned out to be prophetic. He has conquered many of our neighbors and turned the small Chola kingdom into a powerful empire, an empire which I am set to inherit. It is my destiny to be as great a ruler as him, perhaps an even greater one. Despite his many accomplishments, there is a shadow in his gaze. He has achieved the greatness that he sought, but in doing so, he has become corrupted by darkness. He tries to instill this darkness in me, with these fables of greatness through domination. But I do not believe that greatness and corruption are inseparable. History is evidence enough. After carving out his vast empire, Ashoka, greatest of all rulers, turned to a life of service to his people. He built hospitals for the sick and dug wells for the thirsty. Rich and poor alike throve during his reign. Is that not true greatness? To not just rule, but to rule justly? Father just shakes his head whenever I tell him this, or laughs at me if he is in a good mood. Yet he has given me a chance to prove him wrong. We are at war with our old rivals, the Chalukyan dynasty, and he has tasked me with invading their lands. I will wage a just war. When I return to Tanjavur, Raja will know what his son is capable of. Days and nights merged into a restless blur as I rode back to Tanjavur. My mind was empty, as if every thought and emotion had hidden in corners beyond my reach. It was not until I came into the palace and saw my father's body that I woke to find that the nightmare was real. The King of Kings was dead. Seeing my father's cold, grey face, knowing that he would never tell another tale about the elephants of the forests, I wept for the first time since I was a boy. He had died of old age, a quick, painless death, his wives told me, as if the abruptness with which he had left the world was any consolation for his departure. As soon as the tomb guarding his ashes had been sealed, the crown was thrust upon my head. I had longed for this day, but grief clouded whatever joy the occasion should have brought. For the common soldier, dying is small fry. Suffer as they might, they know that it is their destiny to die for their betters. But when you are among the men whose fate it is to shape the world, when every potential future that you could have created flickers out of existence as you gasp your final, miserable breath. Dying is too much. It will be long before this pain subsides. Yet I must rule in spite of it. As the great tiger falls, the scavengers come out to feast on its corpse. The empire is in turmoil after my father's death. To the west, the Sera and Pandya dynasties are rattling their sabers. In the north, the Chalukyas talk of vengeance, even as they lick their wounds from the last war. Yet, my greatest worry is the island of Sri Lanka. My father invaded the island decades ago, forcing its king Mahinda to escape into the untamed south. Now, Mahinda has returned to reclaim his old domains. All but a single town have fallen to his rebellion. If we lose Sri Lanka, it will embolden dissenters in every part of the empire to rise up against me. That cannot be allowed to happen. I must finish what my father began. Order has been restored, but at a high price. My army slaughtered thousands of rebels and pillaged their cities. The people here have suffered, but the fires of Sri Lanka will ensure that the rebellion does not spread, causing suffering on an even greater scale. I tell myself this, yet in my heart I feel tainted. My hands are red with blood of these innocent people. This is not how I imagined the beginning of my reign. I find myself retracing my father's steps, walking where he walked, seeing what he saw. Did he once suffer the same qualms that I do? It is a strange image. The iron-fisted Raja, struggling to balance the necessity for violence with a will to do good. It does not seem like the man that I knew. Then again, I never thought that these bloody hands could be mine either. When news spread of my subjugation of Sri Lanka, our enemies grew quiet. Only the Pandyas of Madurai still flailed their arms at us, being too proud to accept that their ancient line is now but a cub next to the Chola tiger. With stability secured and the Chalukyas weakened, I have been given a rare opportunity to build upon the foundation that my father laid. I am not averse to war, and Sri Lanka taught me that even some atrocities can be justified for the greater good. But my empire will not be one of violence alone. War is but one tool in the arsenal of an empire. We will employ every weapon that we have to expand our influence across both land and sea, and our first act will be one of diplomacy. There is a rumor out of the Far East. Suryavarman, Emperor of the Khmer, is said to seek an alliance with us. Such a pact would be a great step towards domination of this region. Indeed, the star of the Chola Empire has only begun to rise. My enemies lie shattered before me, and the Chola Empire stands victorious once more. Why then? Does it feel as if something inside of me is breaking? For years I have sought greatness not only for myself, but for my subjects. I have treated even our rivals with the dignity befitting ancient dynasties. But my softness has only led to setbacks. Only when I unleash devastation upon my enemies, soldiers and civilians alike, do I seem to conjure up any lasting victory. Perhaps my father was right after all. I cannot be both great and benevolent. One virtue must be sacrificed for the other. The price for greatness is inevitably corruption, the slow death of everything that I believe in. For a long time, this quandary has sent me into tortuous dreams. It is as if a black seed has been planted in some murky crevasse of my soul. I have ignored it, hid from it, all for naught. Could it be that my fear of corruption was but a sign of my inexperience as a ruler? Something that my father learned to overcome in the harshness of his later years. For if one cannot reach greatness without being corrupted, without giving in to that deep desire to increase one's power by any means available, then is corruption truly a bad thing? I was reminded the other day of a story that I had nearly forgotten. The tale of the god Indra and his battle against the mighty serpent, Vritra. The Vritra had taken all of the rivers of the world hostage, causing a global drought. Only by destroying the 99 fortresses of the Vritra and slaying the beast itself was Indra able to liberate the waters. The priests would call me sacrilegious, but to me, this tale has a hidden meaning. I am facing a Vritra of my own, and that monster is the great lie that I have lived until this day. The 99 fortresses are the little lies that are still burrowed into my soul. My irrational fear of corruption, my distaste for violence, and that misplaced care for the so-called innocent. Only when I destroy these inner fortresses can I unleash the greatness within me and become a ruler whose name will live on for millennia. To do so, I must look beyond our traditional enemies. Far to the northeast lies the land of Bengal. It is here, where the sacred Ganges meets the ocean, that I will achieve my greatest triumph yet. I have announced a march on the Pala Empire that rules Bengal. General Arayan has already left at the head of a large vanguard. Together, we will bring holy water from the Ganges back to Chola lands, so that the gods may bless our realm. And if I can defeat one of the greatest empires in the known world in the process, then all the better. Despite suffering humiliation at my hands, Mahipala refuses to bend the knee. He retreats and leaves eastern Bengal open for raids, and in doing so, he saves his dynasty from annihilation. A part of me admires his staunch resistance, but that is a part of me which must die. There can be no admiration for one's enemies, no respect for those who refuse to accept their place in the world that I am creating. For now, I will leave Mahipala to pick up the pieces of his broken pride. Another, even greater predator has drawn my eye. The empire of Srivijaya has ruled the Straits of Malacca for centuries. Their central position on this vital trade route has allowed them to grow wealthy and powerful beyond imagining. And now, their tentacles reach into my domains. For years, they have forced traders to make port when they pass through their waters. The trade ships now ignore our harbors, and the Srivijayan Emperor Sangrama is taking all of the riches that once ended up in our coffers. So far, I have been too preoccupied to challenge him, but this new status quo cannot be allowed to stand. I have decided to invade Srivijaya. It will be a military operation on a scale never seen before. 1,000 ships and 1,000,000 men, crossing the ocean to deal death to this empire of middlemen. I have contended with empires before, but none of them hold a candle to the Srivijaya. Their navy dominates the eastern seas, and their fortresses are guarded by undefeated armies. For the first time in years, I doubt whether I can outmatch my opponent. But if I am to secure my legacy, I must strike hard and give them no time to prepare. This war will either be my undoing or propel me to the greatness that I have dreamed of. It is a gamble that I must make, for he who dares at all must dare it all. Thus, I go to slay my Vritra. The fires of Srivijaya still raged as we celebrated our victory in the imperial palace. Emperor Sangrama and his officials were invited to publicly swear fealty to me. To a man, they all proclaimed their love for their new ruler. Love indeed, for all hatred had been beaten out of them. For the first time in decades, I felt perfectly calm. I knew then that my transformation was complete. I had proven my father right, and built an empire that spans across oceans. I had unleashed the greatness within me and overcome all of my childish delusions. In doing so, I had learned one great truth, that there is no such thing as corruption. It is only what the weak call the will of the strong, and I am no longer weak. The child within me is dying. The man has taken its place. The serpent writhes and withers away, slain by the hero's hand, and the captive waters rush out into the world once more. So ends the tale of Indra and the Virtra, and so ends the tale of Rajendra Chola.